Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. My name is Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow, and looks like we're good to go. Thank you for joining me here today. You can catch us on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. UTC. I look forward to seeing you there. Set your calendar, do whatever else you need to do. Well, you know what to do on YouTube. Click the like, click the subscribe, notifications. I think I have a notification around here somewhere that says, hey, guess what? We are broadcasting. And wake up, phone. If you do that, you'll get something that looks a lot like that. Also have one from Twitch that says, guess what? Twitch is also broadcasting. Ooh, I've got a little bit of color issue going on the left-hand side of the screen. See if I can clean that up for you real fast. I apologize. I thought I had all that squared away right at the beginning of the show. Looks like a key threshold thing to me. Yes, we'll just boost that up. Must be the lighting change today. All right, we are good to go. Let's continue on now that we've got audio and video issues out of the way. This is September 14th, 2020, and our topic today is live service portal widgets. We are going to create something that reacts dynamically to changing data, and I'll give you some caveats under the hood and some bonus content of how you can make your widgets work across multiple instances. You can make them reusable using some options. So look forward to that. Everybody doing all right? We're okay? We're strapped in? Okay, let's get on with the rest of the intro. You can also find us over on Twitch. Let's get that going. Twitch.tv/nowcommunity, where you can find those videos. A lot of people play them there. Appreciate that very much. I'm not able to monitor the live chat through Twitch at the same time I'm doing YouTube, so I am watching YouTube. If you've got questions about service portal widgets being live, okay, there's a lot to know about service portal widgets. Yeah, I understand that. I appreciate that. This topic is on live service portal widgets, particularly the recordWatch method, and we will get into that in just a bit. If you've got other questions, please post them over at the community at community.servicenow.com. Our chat room is very gracious and says, you know, that's a little off topic. We're not talking about ATF today. We're not talking about upgrades. We did that yesterday on Tuesday on Tech Now. I have to remember what day it is. This is Thursday, right? Still Thursday? It's been going on for quite some time. Let me get going with that. So please post in the community. If you haven't already done so, go over to developer.servicenow.com, where you can get yourself a free personal developer instance. All those APIs, blog entries, videos, live coding happy hour on Fridays, lots of great stuff over at the developer community, at the developer portal, developer.servicenow.com. One of the things, of course, you can find over there is meetups. I was privileged to present at the Amsterdam meetup yesterday, or last night for some of you. That was a wonderful experience. We shared a lot of great developer resources. If you want, I believe the video is going to be posted publicly, so you could virtually attend the Amsterdam meetup out of time, out of sync. But there are many, many others around the world that are happening virtually as well. I believe there's a Vancouver one coming up next week that I plan to attend. They're just, they keep popping up, and I'm going to whack those moles as many as I can and attend and present. Phoenix is coming up on October 1st, so look forward to that as well. That'll be pretty early morning for some of you in IST time zone, so maybe you can make it. Hopefully you can. Look forward to seeing you there, whether it's Phoenix or London, or if it's close enough that I can get in the time zone and I don't have something else scheduled, I'll let you know about that. One thing I do want to let you know about is, I saw this on our internal feed this morning, CreatorCon 2020 is coming up October 27th. Registration opens October 8th. Giving you some dates here, mark your calendars. October 8th, registration opens up, and the on-demand content will be starting up October 20th, 1 week ahead. So you can do those virtual labs before you even get to CreatorCon. Then on the 27th, we'll have our keynote, we'll have our live sessions, we'll have all that stuff. It's not going to be a 2-day event, it's going to be more like a 4-hour event. So keynote, hands-on workshops, and follow along, and live coding happy hour, lots of great stuff. Look for the published agenda and the newsletter coming out in a couple of weeks. So October 8th is when registration opens up. Those of you who attended the CreatorCon 2020 in May, there is something different for you, and if I understood right, you will automatically be registered for that. So you just sign up. What could be easier than that? We've just sort of pulled you along, or you can opt out if you wish. But I don't know why anyone would want to do that craziness. But watch for this. This is coming up very, very soon. Mark your calendars so that nobody takes your time and you can enjoy the full experience before and during and after CreatorCon 2020. So look forward to that. Also, we did release a new episode of Breakpoint, the ServiceNow developer podcast. Released that yesterday on the 16th. I still know what day it is today. Talking with Jivan Kaur about Upgrade Center in Paris. This is a follow-up to our Tuesday. Sorry, a warning just came up. Yeah. Looks like we're still good. Okay, Tuesday's Tech Now. This is a conversation we had that follows along with that. So look forward to that. We also have one coming up more about CreatorCon 2020 with Jason McKee next Wednesday, bonus episode, because normally Breakpoint is every other Wednesday. But again, there's so much stuff I want to share. We're going to put that in and get that to you. So if you're not already subscribed, if you're not already listening, Breakpoint, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and as of yesterday, Amazon Music has released podcasts, and Breakpoint is in there as well. Just discovered that yesterday. We do have our next Tech Now coming up on October 20th. This is part 1 of 2 around Process Automation Designer and Playbook. So this is big stuff in Paris, and we brought in the expert, Yaranguez, to tell you all about it. You can find that. Go register over at bit.ly/TN80reg and get signed up. 8 a.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. IST. That'll be October 20th. Looking forward to seeing you all there, and I am looking forward to learning more about that. We do have some code snippets that we'll be discussing today. This is Service Portal Widgets. There's going to be custom code. I have all of that code available in a folder with today's date over at the GitHub repo you see right there, bit.ly/sn-cls. Go find that. And if you're not familiar with JavaScript and you want to get more comfortable with it, or there's just something you need to go back and check out the JavaScript series with the bit.ly link sn-learn-js. A lot of great people have been commenting on that. A lot of people have been leaving great comments. They are great people for watching the video. Don't get me mistaken. So we've got that all covered. Let's continue on with today's topic, which is not looking at the meetup map. It is going into Service Portal. And I am going to get my notes down here, make sure I've got everything all set up the way it should be. So the basic idea behind today's topic is there are times when you want a dashboard, a widget, a page, something to update live in real time or as near real time as you can get without having to put in a refresh. Sure, you can put in an HTTP meta tag at the top of your page and say refresh every 30 seconds and it's going to refresh all of the page. But that's not optimal. We want the data on the server side to say, hey, look at me, I changed. It's time to update this widget. We can do that right in a Service Portal widget. This is one of the coolest things that I found. I use it for a lot of different use cases. If I have time, I'll show you some of those, but I will show you some examples of how you can use it to be better. We're going to turn a static widget into a fully fledged reactive widget. And then I'll do the same thing for a list because you may want to see where things are in a priority queue. I'm also going to give you some caveats. There are some warnings. As I built some of these out, I went, ooh, bad idea. Let's not do that again because it sent the whole thing into a crazy tailspin. So yes, Drew, we are going to be doing recordWatch. So I'm going to build this up little by little. If you haven't already seen the Service Portal widget episode I did on August 13th. Watch for the orange tie, the orange background. The Service Portal widgets part 1 was August 13th in this channel. So ServiceNow community on YouTube, go to the community live stream playlist and you'll find it there. Okay. I will try to put a link in there so we can link these two together. You go, whoa, what's he talking about? Just so you don't think I'm glossing over some of the concepts a little too quickly. So I am going to start by opening up the Service Portal widget editor, which I already did here. You can find that under service portal. There is this guy right here, service portal configuration. Click that, it will bring up another tab with the widget editor. Actually, it brings up the configuration page. If I do this, let's go back to this widget editor, and I'm going to create a new widget. Okay. All this widget is going to do is count the number of active P1 incidents. And as that number changes, it will update live. See if I can do this in 2 windows. So let's create this one called CLS live count. And I'm going to create a test page because I often like to see these on a separate page. Sometimes the preview window just doesn't give you everything you need. Did I click submit? I clicked submit. We've got our 3 basic parts of our widget: the server script on the right, the client script in the middle, the HTML on the left. So shouldn't come as any surprise. To save me a bunch of embarrassment and you a bunch of boring time, I've already written out these scripts. They're not terribly complex. Let's start with the server script. Put that in there. You know what? I should be able to look at this on this screen. Sure, this is fine. Again, all of this is going to be in the GitHub repo that you see right over here, sn-cls. Look for the folder 2020-09-17, and you will find that there. Okay, so the server script starts whenever the widget starts, whenever it appears on a page or it's told to refresh. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, the client script can tell it to refresh. An event could tell. We're going to just keep an eye on that. But let's say for now, we're just going to run this server script at the beginning when this starts. I am going to pass it a table and a filter and a label. Okay, because I want a little widget that says active P1 incidents in English. And then I'm going to pass it a filter, an encoded query, so that the glide record operation knows what to watch for. Active equals true, priority equals 1. Pretty easy. And also the table incident. So 3 pieces of information. Now I could hard code those right into here to say, here is glide aggregate, go get the incident name. Go get the incident table. Here is my filter, active equals 1. That makes the widget good for one and only one thing, counting active P1 incidents. But what if I want to see how many overdue loaner requests I've got, or how many employees are pending an offer, or there's just some single score record that I want to put on a widget? This enables me to do this with options. So options says, go get the options. I'll show you how to make the option schema in a second. But I can pass in options to each instance of a widget. Remember, widget's just going to be this basic framework, and until you put it on a page, which it just did from that test page, until you put it on a page, it really doesn't do anything. It's a blueprint. This is a blueprint. It doesn't run until it's on a page. And this line 5 here says, go and check if they passed me an option table name. If they didn't, then I'm going to use incident. This is a shorthand notation of an if-else. It's actually an if, not else. It's saying, if you didn't pass me this, I'm going to use a default value. If there's no filter, I will not use a filter. So instead of getting a null or an undefined going, hey, no, I don't know how to do a query on undefined, this will actually pass it a blank string. And the label, hey, if you didn't give me a label, well, you don't get a label. That's fine too. Then I use those options in the data model as data.tablename, data.filter. Glide aggregate should not come as any surprise. I'll cover that in more detail at a later date. If all I'm doing is counting records, I want to use glide aggregate. Do not use glide record and get row count. Too slow. You could have tens of thousands of records and it will take a long time for your widget to draw. Glide aggregate, very fast. We'll talk about glide query in a little bit. I know somebody out there is going, what about glide query? Do we have anything about broadcasting between widgets in our agenda today? No, that's going to be events, and that is coming up. So you can send a signal using events between widgets. Very cool. I've done that for even just one widget telling another, hey, it's time to present your little loading widget. Circle-y icon goes around, and then it says, okay, now it's time to stop. That's pretty fun. I do my query, I get my count, and I store that in data count. Pretty simple server script. So let's do that. Let's go get the HTML as well. So the HTML is super simple. I did very little, if no styling on this, except a BR. I input the code from my data object as c.data.label, c.label.count, and I should theoretically be able to run this. So it runs. Okay, well, it's saved. We could turn on the preview and say enable preview, go. And I didn't give it any options, and it's counting all records in the incident table by default. So to set up demo data, I can first have to edit the options schema and say, I need a table, I need a filter, and I need a label. And I better pay attention to what I called those. In the server script, it was table name with a capital N, filter, and label. Okay, easy enough. Let's add, the label to this is table name. The name is table name. The type is string, that's fine. Default value, I could put a default value in here, that would be fine. And form section, don't need it. Let's add another one for my filter. Filter, filter, string, good, default value, all records, because I can't guarantee every record, every table I'm going to query has an active field. That wouldn't make any sense. So let's not do that. And finally, I need a third element to my options, and that's going to be the label. Label, string, fine. Here, we can even put in a thing, no label. All right. Now, if I save that and run it, it says no label, still getting all records from the incident table. It's got double defaults now, one from that, and in here, if I look at my, I'm trying to remember where it was, there was the demo data. I thought I could put in some demo data here, but I could be wrong. Might have to do that through Open in Platform. Okay, let's go look at this widget, because there's a field on the widget where I can put in some demo data. And the demo data is a JSON structure that looks like this. I don't know why it does this crazy indent thing on me, but it has. And in here, I don't have to pass in, if I'm just testing this thing, I don't have to put it on a page and instantiate a widget, etc., etc. So I've got this list of my different things. And for my demo, I'm going to pass in my priority 1 active equals true, active P1 incidents. Update that. Now just remember, I updated this in 2 different places, which means I should really reload this so that it gets its demo data. I've run into that before, and now it says there are, come on, 17 active active P1 incidents. Is that true? Let's go find out. Incident. Let's try typing that again. Incident. Open is active equals true, and priority is 1. Can we find a 1? Ah, you're no fun. Let's group by priority. I can't find one on the screen immediately. There we are, 17 of them. How about that? So our widget is working in terms of just raw functionality. It's not live yet. We're still building up to that. We're also using some, get back here. We're also using some options so that we can make it a little more flexible. And I can see that from, let's do this. Server, service portal, pages, and I should have my test page out here, CLS live count, and I can look at that. Let's open it in the designer. Okay, it's going to go from the widget editor to the page editor, and here is my wonderful test widget. Notice that it's a little big. I got to go over here. The pencil icon will bring up my options. So I can say, look, rather than using the default incident, yeah, I'm really going to say use the incident field, but this time your filter is active equals true. And oh, can't remember what that crazy query was, so let's go back to my incident list and get my priority 1s. There's one. Show matching. Show matching. And of course, I can always copy the query from here. Ta-da! Paste it into the filter here. That's what it's looking for, so that's what I'll give it. And this is active P1 incidents. There's one instantiation. Let's make the layout a little better. I don't really care for this super wide thing. Let's go to the 3-column mode. I'm going to put that right there. Drag this widget down there. Get rid of this container. I think I can get rid of that container somehow, right? Maybe. Just hit delete. Do you want to permanently delete this selection? Yes. Okay. Get rid of that. So I've got one widget there. Let's put another widget there. CLS live count. We'll put another one there. This one is going to count something different. We'll count something off of the employee table that I have on a completely different application. Let's set up a filter. Let's do active employees. How's that? Can't remember the name of the table. Here, let's cheat. We'll do show XML. And in here, we have our table name. Hooray! There's many places you can get a table name. That just happened to be my closest one. Table name, filter, active equals true. Label, active employees. Same widget, two different counts, two different labels, two different instances of that widget. You've probably seen this a lot on Service Portal when you put a badge or something for the knowledge base or catalog or something of that nature. Same concept. If I go to preview, it is not one of my most stylized pages, but it works. And if I want, I can, there's a preview out there. Is that the same page? I don't remember. Nope. Let's do this. Let's go back to the Service Portal page CLS live count. And I can test it. I love this. Try it. Let's try it in the standard Service Portal. Just click that link and up it comes. Now I've got a nice test page that I can refer to. If I like, I can even use my browser's developer console to see any messages over here. Notice that it says, hey, it's too narrow for 3333. I'm going to auto scale. So it is a responsive interface, and it will stack them instead of putting them side by side. Let's go back to the widget editor. We're not done yet. Go back to widget editor. Okay, that was stuck in preview mode. We are going to go to the widget editor Service Portal configuration. Widget editor. Okay, we've got our basic widget counting, but it's not live. This is where the secret sauce comes in. You also need to be very careful. We'll put the preview window away. We don't need to do that right now. We've got this widget pretty solid from a basic HTML standpoint. The secret is in the client script. I don't know why it says MJS. It's not an MJS. It's just a JS. I thought I renamed that. Something didn't sync. And if I look at this script, look at it completely, there is a key component in here called recordWatch. And if I go to the docs site, it might be docs, it might be developer, I gotta look. It's under SPUtil, client, there it is. And it says, I have a few methods for you. Add error message, add info message, that's how you can put those nice ones up there. One of my favorites, add trivial message. It's like an info message, you get a nice little green banner, but it goes away after a few seconds. So it's just there to say, yeah, record updated, goodbye. You don't have to go exit out. We should go through a lot of these later, but the one I'm looking for is recordWatch. Ta-da! And it has several parameters. It is part of scope, so first of all, do not forget to include scope and SPUtil. I'm going to be using those things. I usually start writing the code and then the client script comes up and goes, hey, what's a dollar scope? Oh, I forgot to include that. Okay, that is going to be important. I pass it the table to watch, a filter of records to watch, and then an optional callback function. Now, I like the callback function because it says, if this stuff changes, go do this other thing. I'm not sure what the purpose of recordWatch would be without a callback function. Haven't run into a use case like that. So if you look at how we're using it, I have sputil. It's going to pass $scope. Here is my table name. Now, rather than type in incident, I'm going to use the one that's in the data model as c.data.tablename. That was also part of the options. So I know I've got that. I know I've got my filter. What am I watching for? I'm watching for all active P1 incidents. That was part of the count. You don't have to make this filter match the other filter, but in this case it makes sense. Why would I want to watch for all incidents changing when really my filter only updates for the active P1s? Which is preferable, demo data or option schema? Demo data is going to be if you're working in the widget editor itself. Okay. The option schema is necessary if you want to make your, actually you can't have demo data without an option schema. It wouldn't make sense because it's like, where's the options coming from? Think of demo data as filling in the blanks for whatever you're working on the widget editor. Okay. That's going to be, because I can't really, I can't put in data until it's on a page. I can't put in those options until it's on the page. Well, it's not on a page if I'm just sitting there working on the test bench in the widget editor. So that's kind of what it's doing. Hope that explained it. They work hand in hand, short answer. Then I've got my callback function, which has a response action, and I'm just simply going to log out what the response data is. Now, I often do this with things like, hey, a record is changed, now go update it. C.server.update says go rerun the server-side script. Okay, so it will refresh that count. That's all this does. You can make this do some crazy stuff if you are changing. I want to point out that response.data piece because it will actually return some interesting information. Let's put this into our client script, which is over here. Done, done, done. And you can have more than one record watch. This is the crazy part. More than one record watch in a widget. I've got one that's got 3 or 4. It's watching the customer information for that. I mean, it's a very specialized widget. It's watching the sysuser table for that. It's watching a queue for this other thing. And based on what changes happen, it will affect the behavior of the widget. Oh, it's time to go update this list. Oh, I'm going to refresh the entire page. Oh, it's time. Okay, so you get the idea. You can have more than one of these, but be extremely careful, especially when I get to the next example about the list. Be extremely careful because every update, whether it's human-made or server-made, will trigger recordWatch. Why do I say that? Because I ran into a situation where I had a list of records and I was reordering them. And I said, okay, move this third one to the second position and then renumber them all. So instead of 1, 3, 2, 4, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. I just did 2 record updates. It's going to call recordWatch 2 more times. Now imagine that in a long list where you're moving something from position, a list of 80 records, and you move something from 80 to 1. It has to renumber every record. It's doing 80 triggers of recordWatch because you simply went, nope, put it up there and renumber them from 1 to 80 again. Okay, so think about that. If you have a business rule or a script include or something that is going and doing an update based on a change you made or change the system made, says, let's renumber all the records so they come out 1 to 80 again. If you do that glide record update operation, it's going to trigger recordWatch. And what happens is, it's as if you just hit that refresh button 80 times. It's going to take a long time, and you will see the magic dancing dots. Okay. You've probably seen these on a lot of other portals. When you refresh and you see the dots over here just to the left of your menu, it's going to go da 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 da. I said, wow, this is crazy, because I was saying I'm done with this, and then a business rule would go renumber that list, and it would take 2 minutes to say, I'm done updating your list. Like, why did that take so long? Oh, it's refreshing all those records, which is triggering a record watch. And it's like, oh, it had to do 80 refreshes for that. That was painful. Okay, now that we've got this in here, let's do this. Put that there. I am going to tear this off. Close that for a second. Close that. We're not ready to look at that yet. Move this over here. I could probably blow that up. Can I blow that up just a little bit more? No. Darn. And let's keep an eye on those widgets. We're going to go to the employee table, which was over here. And it says active employees 43. I don't remember 43 records in that employee table. That doesn't seem quite right. Am I looking at the right table? Let's change one. Let's go true. Oh, I didn't refresh the page, did I? It doesn't have the latest client code. Whenever you make a change to a widget, you got to update that. Let's go back to incidents, just for fun. Here's active P1 critical. If I go and open up a new P1 and say, this is high, priority is critical. We'll say this is for Fred, and it is active. We need a short description. Hello, widget. And I save that. Fingers crossed. Waiting. Take a drink. That looks good. Of course, not sure why the instance is really, really slow. Hopefully I didn't send it into an infinite loop and lock something up. There we are. Okay. That is now correct, but why didn't this trigger? We still have 17 active P1 incidents. I don't believe that for a minute. Do you? Oops, I didn't want priority one. I want priority one here. How many do we have? We still have 17. Interesting. Wonder where that issue went. Let's sort by date updated. Did I miss something? Somebody catch something? P3 instead of P1. Really? Updated Z to A. I thought I made it a P1. Network file issues. Where'd my thing just go? Email servers down. Let's try that again. These are all P1s. Let's go get one that's not a P1. It's always the data, isn't it? Need to fix incident impact. Okay. Hello, widget. It did. I did set it to 1. I said priority is... Anyway, let's try that again. Work notes. Work notes. All right, everybody's favorite work notes. Save. Watch for it. Watch for it. We're all eagerly waiting. Hey, that was pretty cool. Did you miss it? It was right over here. It was 18. I'll adjust that back. Save it. More work notes. I have to spell work notes properly. Have to do that. Save it. It should go back to 17. So that widget is reacting to live data now. Pretty neat. Okay, we've got it working so that it's more of a dashboard kind of thing. That's recordWatch in a nutshell. You've got $scope, your table, your filter. Away we go. Let's next make this work on a list. Woohoo! All right. So I don't remember where the list was, so I'm going to bring it up this way. Pages, I think. Service, portal, pages. And I have one called CLS Live List. I don't remember what widget's on it, so we're going to try it on the main portal. Again, nothing special here. Tear that off, and these are my active employees. But again, it is not live. I'm going to go to the widget editor and show you. Because in the widget editor, go to widgets and pick open CLS Live List widget, which is on the CLS Live List page. I don't have any recordWatch in here. Okay. I also noted in Paris that it now starts with API.controller in the client script. Don't know what that was for or why, but if you're making new widgets, watch for that. Employees increased by 1. Awesome. We have a list of 2. Again, I have filter, I have demo data, I've got this widget is able to show not only a list, this one's kind of fun because it goes and gets the fields from a list. So that the HTML, notice that it doesn't spell out the labels name, date of hire, state. I am passing that as some of the widget options. So if I look at the schema, I have a table name again, I have a filter again, I have a label for the table, and then I have what fields do you want? And I said, I just want the name and the active field. I could have date of hire. This is my default data, but it's a list of comma-separated fields, and then, as extra bonus content, I say, let's go get the labels for those fields. And I can do that with a gr.getElement, get label. There's some other glide record operations hanging out here. Again, I'll have these in the GitHub repo. Then I put all of that into the data object. You've seen me do this on the August 13th episode where I was building a service portal widget. It builds out that table of here's a label, here's a value, and then the HTML becomes very, very simple. Go print out the row that has the labels on it and go print out each row's values. So pretty slick and easy to do. This particular instance, if I do a Control-Shift, I can look at my instance options for this particular widget. I think I clicked that. Yes, instance options. There they are. I say go get from the employee table where active is true. There's your label, and I want name, date of hire, and state on that widget. Name, date of hire, and state. Pretty neat, pretty flexible little simple table widget. This one has a little bit of styling on it, so not too proud of it, but enough. There's my label, and let's watch it work live, because right now it's not. If I go and change Jeremy in the employee table, I was just there a little while ago, so should be in my history. Here's Jeremy. Let's make Jeremy false. Nothing happens. I have to refresh the page and Jeremy goes away. So let's go make that live. Of course, we're going to use recordWatch again. And I believe I have the code for that. I do not. We're going to have to write this one. It's going to look an awful lot like this one. Oop. I didn't copy and paste properly. Copy, paste, paste. Am I in the wrong scope or something? No, because I wouldn't have been able to edit that. Very interesting. There, it wasn't blue. You know you're having a bad day when you can't do a basic copy and paste. Class table striped is working. It's striped. You couldn't see it. It's probably pretty light there. Let me zoom in on the table. We're going to refresh that in a minute anyway. Is this recordWatch any different than the previous one? Well, probably not if you know how I write my code. So I am watching the table in the c.table name. No, this is c.data.table table.name because I put everything into a table object. The name is in name. The filter is in filter. Table.filter. And we are going to just spit out the console data on the log in just a moment. And then it will refresh this into our field labels, our field list. All of that's going to be rerun in the code. Save that. Say a quick prayer. Refresh it. No Jeremy there. Back that up a little bit so we can see. Don't need the server script at the moment. I love how Service Portal is written in Service Portal. Change that to true. Pretty cool, huh? Can't get better than that. Let's put Craig in the list. True. There's Craig. I don't know what order it's sorting these in. It's probably by date of hire or something. So I've got Apparently I've got my state is off. It's got a date value in there. Not sure what I did for that, but I did name, date of hire, and state is should be the value retired, terminated, whatever it was. So I'm gonna have to look at that. What is the significance of filter, the third argument in the recordWatch function? That tells the recordWatch, do you want to watch for all records that may change, or do you want me to trigger on just the ones you specify? It's exactly the same as the filter up here. If I were to say active equals true, if I put a filter on a list, I am only looking at those records. These aren't live, of course, but it's a way of filtering down how much information the recordWatch has to keep an eye on. It's going, hey, you've got 10,000 CIs. But I specify a filter and says, I'm only going to watch for changes on these 15. Okay, that's what you told me to watch for. So that's what that does. Again, watch out for what seems like a simple little, oh, I'm going to reorder. So instead of 1, 2, 3, this is going to be 3, 2, 1, and go, save. I've just done 3 glide record queries, and that triggers recordWatch 3 more times. You will see those dancing dots a lot. So don't do that. It's painful. I've got a live list. I've got a live widget. Let me check my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. We talked about options, how to make your widget multi-purpose reusable. The counter, the live list widget, got that. We got the options and recordWatch. Talked about records that update frequently. It could be a problem depending on what the frequency is. If you're talking once a minute, hey, no problem. But if it's something that's happening, 10 times a second, and there are systems out there that update records very, very frequently. You may be doing this in a business rule and you just want to check, okay, that's going to affect recordWatch. Remember, recordWatch is sitting out there listening. It's going, hello, what's happening? I also want to show you something. Let's not do a software update right now. I also want to show you something in the console log, I believe is that keystroke. And when something changes, refresh that, you'll start getting these AMB, the asynchronous message bus. That's how it communicates between the server and the client. And the client says, hey, I got something to update. So if you start seeing AMB messages in your console log, it means recordWatch is listening, recordWatch is working. And when I change something in here, bing, that console message just dumped out the data. This could be useful for you if you're watching for one particular change in a record. Because all recordWatch is going to say is, a record matching this table and filter changed. You may want to know, what did it change from and what did it change to? That is available in here. What changed? Active. Active was its element 0. I thought there was a deeper display in here. That's the prototype change. But you could tell what fields changed. So I could put an if statement inside of that callback function to say, if active was one of the changes, because it could have been several changes. You might have changed active, you might have changed state, date of hire, all that other stuff. Somebody somewhere, either interactively or via the system, business rules, whatever, changed the active field. That's going to be important. We also have the record information, which should look familiar. Here's active, the display value is false, the value is false. Notice these are strings, be aware of that. This is where this log really comes in helpful. There's the table that was changed. I've got my sys created on. It's only reporting back to me what changed. So be aware of what's available in here, but it's handy to know what's in that response. So I printed out the response.data. Remember that console.log statement that was in my widget? That's what that's coming from, right there. I usually do something very similar to this just to make sure recordWatch is working. Dump me the data and update the list or update the widget. Just rerun that server code so that I can see what's happening, did it work? Sometimes it's just a console log that says recordWatch fired. Okay. There are other times when I want to say, did this field change? And is the field value now empty? Because if it's empty, well, that changes the behavior of the widget entirely. So I have to refresh the page, something of that nature. Very, very useful stuff. A lot of power in recordWatch, but again, be careful about multiple updates. The other one I found was watching the sys properties table. Don't know why, but whoever's using the widget needs to have a read role on that. You can read the value of a property through a server script to display it. Now, granted, properties shouldn't be changing all that often anyway. If you're changing them more than once a week, you're probably not using properties correctly, because properties affect the way the application or the system behaves, and you don't want to change that every day. If you're changing it once every 6 months, maybe. But again, if you're using recordWatch on sys properties, you may have it on a dashboard somewhere that says, our total limit is 10, and if somebody changes it to 15, you could have that on your dashboard somewhere saying, hey, the limit's now 15. Okay. Also, remember sys properties, every time you change a property, it's going to flush the cache. So if you're changing them frequently, again, you're probably using properties wrong, and you're going to have a system impact as everybody refreshes their cache of forms and lists and preferences and properties. And okay, they're in the cache for the reason to minimize performance. To minimize performance issues. But if you're flushing the cache, you're defeating it. I actually ran into a system where somebody said, why is my system running so slow? They had a background script that was changing a system property like every 3 seconds. It was like really frustrating. Went, okay, just turn that off. So generally you wouldn't use this for sys properties, but if you do, recognize that recordWatch is whoever's running the widget needs to have a read role, and there's a roles field for reading and writing on that property. Don't know why. It's kind of funky because nowhere else do you need that. But just one of the special cases that I ran up against. I wanted to pass that on. Okay, that is all I've got for today. I hope you can join me on Monday, the 21st, when we talk about UI actions, part 1. Thank you for joining me. Hope you had a wonderful time. You learned something about recordWatch and making your lists and count widgets live. And we will see you right back here at 2 p.m. UTC on Monday. Till then, take care, have fun, bye.